cold and flu symptoms. But for everything we do, we know you do so much more. Tylenol Cold.
It's time for the Big Three. Today's topics: shocking message, say what, and this week's must-reads. Let's bring in the Big Three panel. MSNBC.com national reporter Irin Carmon, MSNBC contributor and former Bush Cheney senior advisor Robert Traynham, and professor of political science at Hiram College, Jason Johnson. With a big welcome to all of you. I'm going to start with you, Robert, and that is Republican Congressman Aaron Schock gave this weekend's GOP address criticizing the Affordable Care Act. Here's part of it.
No matter how many actors and rappers and rock stars the president rolls out, the best sales pitch in the world can't sell a bad product. And this health care law is a bad product for young people.
Robert, it's the law of the land. Is this the wrong message to the GOP, rather the GOP is giving to young people? And what's the alternative for you?
Well, we'll take a look at the optics. The youngest member of Congress talking on a college campus, presumably to college students. Look, college students and young people are the invincibles, right? They are healthy, they are young, and let's face it, the Obamacare machinery, if you will, needs young people to buy into the system, because if not, it will certainly collapse. So the question becomes, is it a good deal for young people? We don't know yet, because we're still having a lot of problems with people signing up. So I think the jury is still out. But the economies of scale here are that if young people simply do not sign up and sign up in droves, it's not going to work.
Jason, your reaction to Congressman Schock's message to young people?
As somebody who deals with young people every day as a college professor, it's great for most young people. Trust me, I'm talking to kids who've just graduated, and being able to stay on your parents' health care until you're 26 years old gives them opportunities to take on internships, travel, and do work that they never had the opportunity to do before. So there's plenty of problems with Obamacare, but for most young people, it's a much better deal than being out there and struggling before this bill got passed.
Aaron, how about the president's year-end news conference? I want to ask you about that, because he's got a lot of tough questions, but does he not get enough credit for the lower unemployment, the higher GDP? Wall Street at an all-time high.
Well, I think it's the role of the press to be adversarial in these sorts of press conferences. Occasionally the questions get a little shallow, but I think it's absolutely the job of the press to hold the president accountable, whether that's on NSA surveillance or on other national security issues. So, you know, yes, it's not really the job of the press to give comfort or credit to the president for any of those things.
Okay, Jason, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, look, Obama has had a bad year and a very disappointing year, and we should be very critical of him for lots of different decisions that he's made. But I think what's most important is the president actually struck an optimistic tone. He said, look, we're going to try and do better things in 2014. And I think he has to for political reality, but it's not anyone's job to say the president's doing well. We got to keep his feet to the fire for everything that he hasn't done so far.
Okay, Robert, got to go to Duck Dynasty. I mean, this controversy is nowhere near dying down. Even more Republicans now coming to Phil Robertson's defense after those comments he made about gay people and African Americans. So in your mind, did he cross the line? And where is that line?
That's the million-dollar question. Did he cross the line? Absolutely. I mean, look, as an African-American, first and foremost, and also as a gay American, he offended me through and through.
Wow,
But also as a conservative libertarian individual, I don't agree with anything that he said, but I appreciate his right to say it. It was idiotic, it was offensive, it was backward leaning, but he does have a right to say it. So the question becomes is whether or not A&E will keep him on air. And it appears like that they very well may, as offensive and as repugnant as those comments were.
You know, Aaron, I'm sure you've had the big uproar about the former IAC PR executive who tweeted that offensive message about AIDS in Africa. So what's going on here? What's your reaction to all this?
Well, I think on the one hand, you know, she is a semi-public figure. Her job is communications. It turns out she is actually of South African, white South African descent. So I think, you know, she, of all people, should realize that what you write on a public Twitter account is public. You had this fascinating sort of online movement while she was on the plane with this hashtag, has Justine landed yet? I think that moments like this, while it's not any one person's responsibility to sort of shoulder all racism, there are points at which we can talk about what are our values, what does it mean when somebody is so insensitive and sort of promulgating racism about AIDS and HIV, and that can be a teaching moment.
Yeah. Jason, your reaction to both of these?
Look, I got to tell you, I don't think that Phil Robertson should have been fired at all. If you hire a country bigot, you should keep a country bigot. And I wasn't the least bit offended. This guy's got his own opinions. He obviously doesn't know what he's talking about, but that's who you hire. It's the same thing as Jersey Shore. I'm not expecting Snooki to say smart things either. And as far as Justine Sacco, I mean, look, she said something obnoxious. She works for College Humor. I really think that we need to be careful about how people say things and not accusing them for being ignorant, but saying, look, if this is affecting your job, you get fired. Otherwise, let it go.
Okay. Guys, I got about about 50 seconds rather, not 50 minutes, until I can let you guys go. So must reads, Irin, you're up first.
I picked an article in Think Progress, 10 Women's Health Heroes of the Year, a great retrospective of all of the important people who stood up for women's rights throughout the year, including my personal favorite, Representative Doug Cox of Oklahoma.
Good job. Robert, yours?
The Clinton legacy continues. The New York Times has a great story on President Clinton and his alumni, or his former staff, if you will, that are now running for public office in Arkansas. The real question is, will they win? We'll see.
Okay, we will see. How about Jason, yours?
The story of Linda Taylor, the woman behind the initial welfare queen mystery. You've got to read about this woman's life. It's Catch Me If You Can, Imitation of Life, and Bulworth all rolled into one.
Oh,
if you want to see how the Republicans justify 30 years of anti-welfare policy, this is the story.
Awesome. Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Alex.
Thank you. Happy
The
holidays.
MSNBC gang to you too joins me to share